Hey Pokedad fan club, it's me Pokedad, and today I've got another Pokemon news update. XY9 Rage of the Broken Sky, which is the Japanese name. For us, it's going to be called Breakpoint. They've revealed a few more cards, so I wanted to just look at them real briefly. The first one is Froakie. We've already kind of gone over Greninja, Greninja Break, um, and Frogadier. But I did want to show you that they've got the artwork for Froakie. So it's there, and it's only a 60 HP water type, which is about right for a stage, a basic that has a stage 2. It's got Bubble, which we've seen in the past. Flip a coin, and if heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. So it can delay your opponent for a turn, which might be useful, um, especially if you're trying to get all those Greninjas out. Anyway, we want to look at a couple more, and then I have some other cards that we're going to look at, but just from Rage of the Broken Sky, we'll look at Splash Energy first. I know this is what a lot of people have really been looking forward to. It is the special water energy, and that's what it looks like. So let's read what it does. I don't know how exciting it is, or if people will really like it, because a lot of people thought it was going to be a way to accelerate water energy, but I don't think it is. So if the water Pokemon this card is attached to is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, return all Pokemon cards to the owner's hand instead of discarding them. Discard all the other cards attached. So I'm certain that this will be useful in some situation. I'm not sure I've really thought through what situation it'll be useful for, but basically, well, I guess let's just, one of the top dogs for water is Seismitoad. If you have this thing attached to Seismitoad and he gets knocked out, then you get to take Seismitoad and put him right back in your hand again. The only thing is most Seismitoad decks are going to be using double colorless anyway. So I'm not so sure how useful it will be, and it looks like all the energy is discarded. If I'm reading this right, just the Pokemon cards return to the owner's hand, everything else is discarded. Um, but it might be useful for some card, maybe a basic. Well, that might be it. Also, if you like, let's say for instance, we're trying to get Froakie, um, trying to get him evolved, but we can't, so we play the water energy on him, and if he does get knocked out, then we still get to keep the Froakie, which will help us with the potential Greninjas. Also, if your Greninja gets knocked out and you have, let's say, a Froakie, a Frogadier, and a Greninja, and let's say a Greninja Break gets knocked out, then you can evolve the Froakie to Frogadier, the Frogadier to Greninja, and the Greninja to Greninja Break. So that's, I guess, a possibility. So you might see it in evolution, major evolution like stage 2s and breaks. This could be very useful. So I do think water types, I guess this could be useful, especially in that situation. And water types seem to be getting a lot of support, which kind of makes sense because 2 sets ago, in Ancient Origin, it seemed like grass types got a lot of support. Forest of Giant Plants, and just a lot of grass type Pokemon, Vileplume and Vespiquen came out. Then the last set, it seemed like Fires got their play at it with Mega Houndoom and the special energy for them. And so it only seems reasonable that this time is going to be mostly a lot of water support, and we're already seeing that. So Splash Energy is going to be useful. Anyway, moving right along, we've got Suicune here. The old Suicune used to be a safeguarder, so if people tried to hit it, Pokemon EX tried to hit it, it wouldn't hurt it. But this time, this one around is a little different. It's got a little more HP, 120 HP, but the attack requires 3 waters. And with no Blastoise in play, getting 3 waters on this Pokemon might be a little difficult, though we did talk about some energy acceleration in a couple videos ago, so I guess it's not totally impossible, but 3 energies for 110 just seems average at best. It does have an ability, Wind Protection. I'm not really sure how good this ability is going to be either. I can only really think of how it'll come in play um, in one way, and that's all I can think of. So as I discuss this, if you can think of some other ways this will help, feel free to put that in the comments below. But anyway, Wind Protection, as long as this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, prevent all effects of your opponent's attacks except damage done to each of your Pokemon. Alright, so it's going to protect Suicune from, say, status conditions like um, poison from an attack or confusion from an attack. And that kind of goes without saying, but what done to each of your Pokemon, including the ones on the bench? What? I mean, I've never seen them get status conditions. You can't poison someone on the bench. You can't confuse someone on the bench. Paralyzation seems pointless. So how does it affect anything on the bench? And the only thing I can think of is, those Pokemon that say switch this card with something on your bench. That's the only thing I could see it coming in and working. Like, let's say Beautifly hits Suicune and says, look, I want you to switch your Pokemon. He can say, nope, I got my ability Wind Protection. You're not going to make me switch. Of course, if if Beautifly hits Suicune, it's going to be a knockout anyway. So anyway, that's just the only situation I can see where it would come in play. Alright, now moving right along, we have a few other cards. These are not in XY9. These look like these are going to be promo cards. And I know in the past we've taught, I don't know if I've done it on my channel, but I've read about these Evolution EXs. And so now they're showing what all of them are going to do. And I have to tell you, in typical promo fashion, they're pretty much all a little underwhelming. But we'll talk about the cards anyway. So let's look at Leafeon EX. I'll let you see the card if it'll load for me. There it is. Leafeon. And then also we'll talk about this trainer card that goes with it. It's really nice artwork, 170 HP, and you can see it has 2 attacks, grass and a colorless, and then a 2 grass and a colorless. So it's a 3-drop just to see its second attack. Anyway, so what does it do? So for the first attack, Leaf Blade does 30 plus damage, and then flip a coin. If heads, this attack does 30 more damage. That's kind of underwhelming. I mean, potential 60 damage, but for 2 energy drops, think about like Eviltal, baby Eviltal, for 1 darkness energy hits 30 damage and then also accelerates energy. So I'd much rather have that attack, even though it's only going to do 30 and never going to do 60, unless we're hitting something for weakness, of course. I'd rather have that than this attack, which might hit for 60, but is only going to definitely hit for 30. Anyway, I'm just kind of giving comparisons and why I think these aren't all that great. Second attack for 2 grass and a colorless, Nature's Breath, does 90 damage. If there's a stadium play, it does another 30 more damage and removes 3 damage counters from this Pokemon. And in typical grass fashion, it's kind of a healer and attacker. It does 120 damage, so it would one-shot like Primal Kyogre and obviously Seismitoad and Primal Groudon if he doesn't have a hard charm on. So it might be used as a tech for those, but still you're looking at a 3 energy drop, and a Trevenant EX is pretty much already decent tech for that anyway. So I don't know. I don't think Leafeon's all that great. Also in the picture was the Immunize Ur. Return 2 grass Pokemon from your discard pile to your hand. Now this might be useful in the sense that with Chestnut Break And this is one thing I talked about with Chestnut Break, and that is because it's literally a stage 3, so you have a lot of pieces to put into your deck. It takes a lot of deck space, but even more than that, it just destroys the consistency of your deck, because you might get in your opening hand, you might get a Quilladin and a Chestnut Break, but you can't get any of them together because you still have to get the Chespin, and you got to get the Chestnut. And even if you have the Forest of Giant Plants in your hand, you just can't put everything together. So this might help, because you may need to Ultra Ball some of those pieces away to get the ones that you need, and then you can always use Immunizer to put them back into your hand. And that's very key. It doesn't put them back into the deck like, say, a Super Rod would, or a Sacred Ash. It puts it right back into your hand. So now, if we've got the Forest of Giant Plants, we can actually Ultra Ball the Quilladin, and maybe even the chest. Yeah, we can Ultra Ball the Quilladin and the Chestnut Break, grab the Chespin, then use Immunizer, put it back into my hand, then evolve to Quilladin. Maybe we have another Ultra Ball where we can grab Chestnut, and then we might actually, with this card, you might actually be able to see a Chestnut Break on turn 1. So I can see why it's could be playable in grass decks. Also, you could see it in like Vileplume, because sometimes you have to get rid of a Vileplume or a Gloom, and so Immunizer might be able to bring those back to your hand and make it a lot easier to get that stage 2 out. Alright, we got Golem EX, which is a fighting type. Here's what he looks like. Alright, and remember, since he's a fighting type, we have all the damage enhancers. Uh, Muscle Band, which is for everybody, but then you got Strong Energy and Fighting Stadium. So for 2 fighting and a colorless, he does 80. But if you had, let's say, just 1 Strong Energy and a Muscle Band, now you're hitting 120. Throw in Fighting Stadium, 140. Not too bad for a 3 energy drop, but still, it's a 3 energy drop. It's just not. I mean, if you're going to spend that much effort on a fighting type, you might as well just go with Primal Groudon. Anyway, Megaton Fall, 4 energy drop, 3 fightings and a colorless, does 180 damage, and then this Pokemon does 60 to itself. A Strong Energy would do 200, and Fighting Stadium and a Muscle Band would do 240, so you'd be knocking out everything in the format except a Wailord. And you know, that's not too bad, but again, it's a 4 energy drop. I mean, you don't even have to worry about doing 60 damage to yourself, because if you can ever get 4 energies on this guy, uh, you'll be lucky. So anyway, that's just my take. You can disagree with me if you want to. Of course, we do have some energy acceleration coming in XY9, like the Max Elixir. Um, so you got that. But I would argue Primal Groudon is still probably better, because he can at least take advantage of Mega Turbo, though you could still throw Landorus in, Baby Landorus, and help accelerate that energy too. Alright, Ninetales EX, Flare bonus for 1 fire type, discard a fire energy from your hand, and then draw 3 cards. That's kind of cool. Because you know, fire types want to kind of discard energy anyway, so they can blacksmith. So that could be useful. I could see that actually being useful. And then fire types are one of the few types that I don't have a problem, you know, with larger energy costs, because energy drop, or actually double colorless drop and a blacksmith, and this guy's ready to go. So Fire Blast, but it only does 130 damage. Flip a coin. If tails, discard a fire energy attached to this Pokemon. I still think Entei's probably better. The one with the double that you can play 2 tools on. I mean, he's going to hit for 130 for the same. Well, I think it's 2 fire and a double colorless. But then if you have 2 muscle bands on him, you're hitting that nice 170 mark. And you don't have to discard any energy, though you potentially could hit yourself with the Entei. But I still like it better, because it's only a 1 prize. You only lose 1 prize if he gets knocked out. Alright, now we got Jolteon EX, so a lightning type, 160 HP, so it's only 160. For one lightning type, he does Swift, which does 30 damage, and this attack's damage isn't affected by weakness, resistance, or any other effect on your Pokemon's active Pokemon. Alright, and then the next one is for a lightning and a double colorless flash ray, does 70, and this Pokemon can't be damaged by any basic Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. Now this one might see play. It's kind of like Pyroar, but in lightning form, and it is an EX, so it does has a little beefier HP. Not too bad, but it's only doing 70 damage. And Pyroar really has kind of gone to the side. I mean, you still kind of need to prepare for him because there's a possibility someone might be playing him. But Pyroar is not, because of Mega Evolutions, you just don't really have to worry about Pyroar too much anymore. I don't know if I showed the picture. Let's take a look at it. I may have missed the picture on some of these. If I have, I apologize. But there's Jolteon. And then here looks like the trainer, supporter guy. I guess his name's Clement, and he is a supporter. And search your deck for 4 lightning energy and put them into your hand. Shuffle your deck afterwards. This supporter is going to be very, very good for lightning types, especially for those of you that are playing Magnezone. Clement and Fisherman will team up together so that you can put 4 lightning energies on Raichu Break, and then use them all up, and then bring them back with Fisherman and redo the whole situation over and over again. So I think he's a very playable supporter, but it's only going to be unique to lightning decks, obviously. So that's pretty much all I have to say about that. Alright, we got Vaporeon EX, another cute EX for the EV evolutions. Bubble Drain for a water and a colorless, 30 damage, and heal 30 damage from this Pokemon. And then 2 water and a colorless Deep Squall does 130 damage, which is kind of cool because it's still in 3 energy drop, but most 130 damages require 4 energies. When you think about, well, was it Ninetales that I just showed you, but also think about Groudon EX and Tyranitar EX and Rayquaza EX Dragon type. All of these guys require 3 energies, and 4 energies, and they do 130 damage. This one only requires 3. The only downside to this one is it does 130 minus 10 damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. So if this guy gets hit, you know, if he's almost dead, he's not even going to be able to attack back except for Bubble Drain, which will heal him 30. But he's probably going to be knocked out next turn anyway. So there is the downside to that. Alright, and then we have Meowstic EX. I do kind of like Meowstic, so it's kind of neat that they've got an EX for Meowstic. 160 HP Psychic type. Does have an ability, obviously weak to Psychics, 1 energy retreat cost, and 1 attack for a Psychic and a colorless. Alright, so Shadow Ear. Meowstic always has something to do with the ear, his or her ears, depending on which type it is, but that looked like a male type. Once during your turn before you attack, if this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, you may move 1 damage counter from one of your Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon. I think that's kind of cool. What I like about it is the potential of using multiple of these, and then also maybe playing Zoroark with a Float Stone, so you can use Meowstic, Shadow Ear, move a damage counter from one of your Pokemon to your opponent's Pokemon, then stand in and retreat into another Meowstic. Do the same thing. Maybe you can even switch into another one. So you could potentially move 2 or 3 damage counters every turn, which I think would be neat. And then if you need to attack with Meowstic, it does have 1 attack for a Psychic and a colorless. Pardon me, guys. Mind Shock does 60 damage, and the attack's damage isn't affected by weakness or resistance. So for two energies, though, 60 is not too bad. So it could put some damage out there, and that's pretty good. Finally, we got Olympia. Was that with? Yeah, here's Olympia right here. Olympia is okay. So this right here would work with Meowstic. Switch or active a Pokemon with one of your benched Pokemon. Then heal 30 damage from the now benched Pokemon. I actually kind of like this supporter. I've often wondered when we would get a supporter that had a switching ability within it. Because there's so many lock type decks, Confusion Lock, Poison Lock, which keeps you stuck. And if you have Item Lock also, then you can't retreat. And neither can you use a switch. And so Olympia now is going to be that one supporter, may even take the place of Switch from now on, to be able just to switch when you need to switch, and break any Confusion Lock or Poison Locks or what's the other kind of lock? Anyway, I can't remember right now, guys, but and then heals 30 damage from your now benched Pokemon. So this would work with Meowstic. It would allow you to hit, use 2 or 3 of the Shadow Ear abilities every turn, as long as you had enough of the Olympia and VS Seeker. I could see someone trying to make a deck out of that. That seems pretty cool. Alright, and then this other stuff is just Mewtwo EX. Looks like in Japan they're getting some blister packs that specifically have the 2 Mewtwo EXs that we just got out of XY8. Blast Ball, 30 damage, which I think is Scatter Shot for us. 30 damage times the number of Psychic Energy. And then Damage Change, which switches the number of damage counters between the 2 Pokemon. So, seems pretty cool. And then there's the other one, which we've already seen. I wonder if it's new artwork, though. We can take a look. Doesn't look like it. No, it is new artwork. Okay. So, there's another Mewtwo. I guess they really love Mewtwo because they're really, really, really making a lot of different Mewtwo's. Anyway, guys, this video has gone kind of long, but I had several things to go over with you. But tell me your thoughts. How do you plan to use some of these cards in your decks? And also hit like just to let me know that you appreciate the content. We really take great encouragement from that. So please, just takes 2 seconds. Hit that like button for us. And then finally, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to our channel. Anyway, this is PokeDad signing off. And until next time, we'll talk to you later. Bye.